In this video, I want to walk you through step by step all the details of creating the SFAC 6 elements of a financial statement using this Microsoft Access database application. I'm going to go in detail just to show the mechanics of how this works. If you're focused on IFRS, IFRS has a similar elements of a financial statement. It's in the conceptual model. There's a minor difference between US GAAP and IFRS conceptual models, but it has nothing to do with differences in financial reporting. It has to do with the FASB didn't bother to talk to the ISB, and the ISB did not bother to talk to the FASB to coordinate. That's why they're different. This is about not the definitions of terms. This is about the terms themselves. You know, whether you define assets one way or another way, both conceptual frameworks have assets, they both have liabilities, they both have equity, and they both have other similar concepts. So it's really the same as IFRS. So I'm just going to get into this and give you the mechanic. The focus here should be the mechanics, and I'm assuming that you watch the accounting equation. So here we go. So you double click on the application to open it up, and it'll automatically open this form. There's a macro. You can enable the content. I use this to create the accounting equation. I'm going to reset the data. So now it's all the data has been zeroed out of the application. I go into the base information, and again, I'm going to have local terms. This is the namespace prefix. This is the identifier. If you want to understand this, right now, focus on the mechanics of doing this. I'm going to very gradually build up the conceptual ideas and everything else. But right now, focus on the mechanics of how the application works so that you can physically, basically duplicate everything that I do in the application. And then that will help you go to the next level in this path toward understanding XBRL-based financial reporting. So this scheme is going to be local, so it's the same name. Don't use that. The default language is going to be English. You can have any ISO language code that you want. That's it. So I could put in an imported taxonomy, but I'm not going to do that for this example. So now I'm done with the base information. So now I want to put in the terms. So I'm just going to whip through this. There are 10 terms: assets, liabilities, equity, comprehensive income, investments by owners, distributions to owners, revenues, expenses, gains, losses. Then I got to add a couple of little hanger concepts. I'm not using dimensions. We can get to that later. Again, I'm building this up slowly for novices that have never been exposed to this at all. So I'm just going to bear with me here, and I'm just going to enter these things. And again, focus on the mechanics. It's really, that's what you want to focus on right now. So we got assets. It is a concept. The data type is monetary. Oops. It is a debit. It is as of a certain point in time. I don't really need that. Status. Okay, I'm going to stop the video and enter the rest of the concepts, so there's no reason for you just to watch me key these things in. Okay, I'm back. I've entered the first 10 concepts that the FASB defines. Okay, I'm going to put in 3 more that they don't really define, but we need in order to create this. So the first one is balance sheet. And this is an abstract concept. I use set, but it's actually arithmetic, but that's fine. That's an abstract concept. There is no data type on abstract concepts, as is there is no balance type, no calendar period type. You don't really need to have this. I just put it on to help see things. There's a lot of strategies for whether to put it on, how to put it on if you want to, without showing it in the statement. The second is the comprehensive income. That's a roll up. And the third is the changes in equity, which is a roll forward. Again, all these are abstract. Okay, so all the concepts, all the terms are now in. I use report element, I use term, they're aliases, AKAs for the same thing. I'm probably going to settle on term, but all the terms are in. So now, notice that we have 3 different patterns. We have a set, we have a roll up, and we have a roll forward. So now we've already expanded the accounting equation by 3. So there's 3 different rules we're going to have, etc. So let's get on to the next piece. Save that. We're not going to import any terms because we're just doing these locally. We do need some labels. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a roll forward. So in a roll forward, you use equity, and we're using English. You can use, again, any ISO language. I'm only got 3 in here right now, but I can make the list. I can put in any that I want. We want to create a period start label that looks like, let's see, beginning balance, equity beginning balance, because this is for equity. We need another one in English for the end, period end. We need another label for the distributions to owners, which is a negated label, and we want it to show like this. And this is, again, this is a matter of preference. Whether you show this as a negative or a positive, we're just showing you how to do it should you want to do it. And you'll see why. Let's see what you'll see the impact of this when we actually do the report. When I show the rendering of the report. So then we have losses. So remember, the standard labels are entered when the terms are entered. So now we have all the labels entered. So we can go to the next step. The next step is entering the references, which you're not going to do. I'm just going to skip that. We're going to enter the structures. So we have 3 structures. We have a balance sheet. We have an income statement or comprehensive income. And we have changes in equity. So again, we're focusing on mechanics. I have 3 structures. So now you're going to see how I use these structures. They're called networks in XBRL. We use structures and terms to build associations, which is what we'll do next. Oops, sorry. Okay. And again, I'm going to do a couple of these, and then I'm going to turn the video off and then do the rest of them, and then I'll just walk you through it. But it's just a mechanical process. So I'm going to, I'm creating a presentation relation. I want to do it for the balance sheet. I want to put the concept. I want to do a parent-child relationship. These are just XBRL presentation relations. I want a balance sheet relationship for assets. And I'm just using the standard role. Balance sheet, parent-child. I want liabilities. And I want equity. So again, you've seen, we've already did this in the accounting equation example. It'd be better if you did that one first. So now I'm going to turn the video off, pause it, and then I'll be back after. Okay, so I finished entering the presentation relation. So again, I have 3 sets now. We only had the balance sheet before, but now we have balance sheet, comprehensive income, and changes in equity. So I'm not going to go over this. Just, again, for right now, just do this, and then I'll cover this in a more appropriate time. I don't want to overwhelm with all these details in the very beginning. So the next we're going to do, I'm going to put in some calculation relations. So this is a little bit different. I will cover this. And we need that for the comprehensive income because it's a roll-up. And XBRL calculations, that's what they allow you to represent roll-ups. So the total in the roll-up is the concept comprehensive income. And we don't use parent-child, we use total item. So this is the total. This is the item that contributes to the total. So revenues is part of comprehensive income. We add it. The next one is expenses, which we subtract, and we don't have label roles in the calculation link base. We do in the presentation link base. Then we have gains, which we add, and we have losses, which we subtract, and we're done with the associations. So again, something to keep in mind is this is not how you're going to have to work with XBRL. The point of doing this is to see the details of what is going on, and mainly for me to be able to explain to a software engineer that what accountants are doing, and they create an interface that makes actually doing this easier. So now we're going to go on to the next step, which is the rules. So we have a couple different types of rules in here. The first one is exactly the same as the accounting equation, so we're just going to create that rule. The rule is assets equals liabilities plus equity. The rule relates to the balance sheet. We don't need commentary, and the total concept is assets. This is just used to like sort the rules. Just if you want to work with the rules and maintain the rules, that's what that is used for. So again, we have to put in the actual concepts that go with the variables, and they don't have to be in order. They just have to exist in the list. And then we have our first rule. Okay. We're going to close this. This is the only. So we could create a rule for the comprehensive income statement, because that is also a roll-up. This is not really a roll-up. There's an issue here. I don't want to go into that right now, but these are debits, these are credits. It's not quite a roll-up. It's a little bit different. It's kind of funky. So I'm going to stop there with this rule. I'm going to go to the next rule, which is, I'm going to skip derivation rules for right now. I'm going to go with the roll forward rules. So this is changes in equity. I'll call it roll forward 01 to be consistent with the documentation. The rule, so I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to type it in. The reason for. Okay, so I entered the rule. Basically, there's a pattern here. This concept, equity, has a starting balance and an ending balance. And as long as you follow this pattern, it will be able to connect this concept to this variable and this variable. So it is what it is. I'm not going to go into detail, but that's how it works right now. So we've entered 3 rules. So one rule is this roll forward. The other rule was the consistency rule we had here. And the third one is the associations, the calculation rule for comprehensive income. So each of the 3 structures, 1, 2, 3, there's a rule that explains each of the structures. Okay? So now I'm going to enter the contexts. So again, I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to put this stuff in, then I'm going to. Okay, so here's the context. I entered these. Again, you can add dimensions, which we don't need any, so I didn't add any. You notice that the separator here, this pipe character separates the entity identifier from the scheme, identifier scheme. Same thing is going on here, where you have a duration that has two dates, a beginning date, a start date, and an end date. This is separated by a space, pipe character space. And the application can convert this into an XBRL context. So there's the context. So now we will enter the facts. So again, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to paste them in from Excel. So hang on while I do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and I copied and pasted the facts from Excel. So, and just to see this, I mean, again, you can enter these by simply selecting from these combo boxes. So it's not that hard. Clearly, you can't select the facts from a combo box because it could be whatever value. But every other one is basically nothing but a combo box that tells you what it should be, what you should enter. So again, these hidden are for inline XBRL if you want to hide it, and that's a feature of inline XBRL, so I'm not going to go into that. This is simply an ID that you can assign to fact if you're going to add footnotes. I don't support footnotes right now. It's trivial to add. It's not a modeling issue. It's very hard, so I'm not dealing with it right now. But anyway, that's basically the facts being entered. And again, they're copied and pasted from Excel. You can import these from an accounting system, which I can do. You can get them in there however you want. It's simply, moving them from one database table to another database table, basically. So the next thing that we do is we output the model, we output the rules, we output the instance, we output the inline XBRL, and we output the batch files that are used to verify everything. So after we generate the files, we go here and we run the internal validation. We have no errors. We run the XBRL processor, XBRL validation, which does XBRL syntax validation and XBRL formula validation. Again, you have to have a license for this to work on your computer. You can use a rel. You can hook that up to make this process work. There are lots of, any XBRL processor will do. So this is, it'll be done in a second. So that's done. So now I run the XBRL cloud validation. That's done, and I generate this little file. Then I go to the files, and now, remember I started with one, but now I have all of these files. There's the instance, the taxonomy schema, the link bases. So again, I can tell by the rule or the size of the file that everything is valid there for the schema, for the instance document. XBRL formulas. There I have 3 rules. They're all satisfied. They're consistent with what was expected. I have XBRL calculations. Those are all consistent with what was expected. I can load the file that was generated the instance into SFAC, which is, I created this using one application. I validated it using a different software vendor's application, and I'm loading it into a third different vendors' application. That's the power of standards. So here you see the balance sheet, comprehensive income, changes in equity. There's the taxonomy. You can see what you created. There are the terms. There's a bunch of junk they put in there. I spent half my life trying to get software engineers not to do things that are not helpful to people. It'd be great if other accountants provided their view to people to get us good software. Let's see. I'll load this in. I'm going to call that good. So again, you should be comfortable with creating the accounting equation and the SFAC 6 examples before moving on to the next examples. Again, it's just a mechanical process that you should be focusing on right now, how to physically do the work. I'm going to go over importing more as we build up the size of these taxonomies and the instance documents. And there's all kinds of other really interesting things you can do. But I'm going to stop this video now.